Well, hi, ho, welcome back to Just an Opinion Movie Review. And I have Jacob back with me again.
I'm being held captive. Somebody save me.
So, I had bought this movie back when it came out, and I never watched it. And when we watched Uncharted last week, I was like...
Something awoke inside of you.
I was like, oh, you know what? We should watch the Tomb Raider movie. Now, behind the scenes, I know, I start these differently when I'm with Jacob. I don't get right into the movie, but Jacob was like, "Oh, you know what? We should do a podcast with all the games,
all the game movies,
So we're working our way towards that thing. But yeah, so we'll start off. This movie came out in 2018, I think, and I don't remember how it starts off. Laura's like,
she does bike work. She's a carrier.
So she's a deliverer. So I don't know much about the Tomb Raider game. I only know the third reboot, where she's kind of already like a Tomb Raider. She's learning to be the Tomb Raider, but she's already on the island basically. And so this movie, you're like, oh, she's gonna be a delivery boy.
She's good with bikes.
You know what?
She can ride a bike good.
Before I forget, you remember at the beginning of the movie, they were setting up a relationship between that one guy, I think the Indian guy, and her, and she's and the mom. I don't know if it was the mom or something, but she's like, tell her you like her.
Oh yeah, she was delivering.
That went nowhere.
Yeah, it was fine. Don't worry about it.
So she goes to this one place, I don't know where, but these couple guys are talking about this thing where they capture a tail.
It's a fox hunt.
Yeah, and so
they put a tail on a bike, and they give the person like a 5-second head start and a can of paint, and the can of paint is how to track them. But if they can't catch you before the can of paint runs out, then the fox wins.
Oh, is that what the rules were?
Yeah,
I didn't know the rules.
That's what the rules were.
Okay, I thought it was just like you just keep going until either they give up or you.
No, you have to elude them until you're out of paint.
So she's the foxtail girl, and
she cheats.
She cheats. She gets on the back of a truck, and then she gets off that back of a truck, and then runs into a cop car, and then she gets arrested. And then the thing I didn't tell you last week is I kind of bridged some of the stuff.
Yeah,
I try to get rid of some of the stupid shit. A lot of this began as movies. It doesn't matter.
Anyway, she's got to sign the papers to get her dad's
stuff. So
this
lady's like, hey, you should sign these papers.
Yeah, to get your dad's stuff. His will and testament.
And then this other guy's like, hey, here's a puzzle thing right here, but you should sign the paper first. But I'm going to give you this puzzle thing, so you play the puzzle thing, and then a picture comes up, and it says, hey, this is my first note. And then she's like, okay, and then she doesn't sign the papers, and she walks off. And then she goes back to her house, and then she finds a secret cave. Well, not cave.
In the crypt.
In the crypt. She finds a note, and her dad says, hey, all this stuff right here, Trinity wants it.
Burn it. And
she goes, okay.
Give it to them.
Let's go on a trip.
and then she's in Hong Kong.
Yeah, so she has to go to Hong Kong and find this boat. And luckily enough, she gets robbed. And then she finds her boat.
Yeah, and the guy who owns the boat is the son of the guy who her dad was dealing with.
Who went missing 7 years ago with her dad went missing 7 years ago.
And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever, let's go on and let's go have some fun in the most dangerous part of the sea.
So he doesn't want to do it until she pulls out the money, and he's like...
Her foot money.
He's
her
like...
boot money.
And he's like, you know what? He doesn't say this, but he basically says that I have a foot fetish for money. A very unique thing. So they go on this thing, and...
now they're on the
island. Surprise! There's a storm, and the boat crashes. They're on the island, and then the bad guys hit her in the back. And now the guy who killed her father found her, and he's like, oh.
No, he didn't kill her father.
Well, we were led to believe that she killed... that
Maybe.
He killed.
I don't know.
Because...
we were at least told that he had killed other man's dad.
The Asian guys. So...
she gives him all the notebook to open up the thing, and then they're like, okay, we were digging in the wrong spot, we're really dumb, let's move. But we had to wait for her to wake up before we could move, because, I don't know.
So they move, the villain guy kills a slave, and then this is how we know he's bad. And then she finds the Asian guy still alive. Now he's a slave, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a diversion." And he doesn't tell her what he's gonna do. He's just like, "Ready? 1, 2, 3," and then she runs off, and the guy gets caught. And then she falls in the river, slides out. So they play the first game at least. So she's going down this river, and she falls on a Japanese World War II plane, and then she finds a parachute because she's on top of a waterfall, and the plane falls, and she gets on a parachute.
Parachute deteriorates immediately. Her face gets remodeled by some trees.
Yeah.
She gets a nice little like torso piercing.
Yeah. So if you played the game, there's a scene. It takes place in like not a well, but in the dark. Like you're tied up. I think this might be number 2. No, this could be number 1. But you're tied. I don't know which game it is, but you're tied up. You swing back and forth. You end up falling, and then you land on a spike. And so that like she lands on a spike when she's falling from the airship. And so it was like, oh, cool. That's scene number 2. And then
she makes her way down to the beach, and then at night she goes back into the woods, and then just conveniently one of the soldiers is there.
And she ends up killing him, and that's her first kill, and she's like got hard on. She's like, this is how you take a life?
And then she sees a magical forest bum just kind of watching. So she follows him.
And the bum's like, oh shit, you can see me? And he runs off.
Yeah, and then he climbs into a cave, and he does the is it a Progressive, the one with the fishing man with the dollar bill and the...
No, State Farm.
State Farm, okay. He does the State Farm thing where he pulls his rope up before she can
she's
get
like,
it.
oh, I should have been quicker.
So she climbs in there, and the bum turns out to be her dad.
But his dad's like, she's not real. She's not real. And then the girl's like, no, I'm real. Remember, I'm Sprout.
Also, I'm bleeding out here. Please do some surgery. Thank you.
Yeah, so she gets healed up by him. And then her dad's like, well, good thing you destroyed everything. And she's like,
About that.
He's like, what?
I kind of just gave him the thing.
Yeah, so then she takes the bow and arrow, and she runs off to go save the slaves. She kills one of the guards, and then
there's a massive uprising of the slaves. They get one gun and they do pretty good damage. I think they kill like 3 soldiers, and then they all just kind of bail off screen. And then Dad shows up and he's like, "Oh, this door is amazing." And
then the bad guy's like, the head bad guy's like, "Well, welcome back, Richard.
I thought you were dead. Now open the door."
So we don't know why Richard went there because
dumb.
Because I think he's just like his daughter is like, well, I'm gonna open this door, and
I mean, I'm here, so.
So they open the door. Well, the bad guy tells Laura, she's like, either you're gonna open this door, or I'm gonna shoot your dad.
Look, if you pull the arrow on me, I'm gonna shoot your dad before I die. So you're gonna be the one shooting your dad. So she solves the riddle of the Sphinx and just rotate things a few times. They go down into the tomb. They raid it.
Yeah, they run into 3 traps. They run into a spike trap. They run into it's not really a trap, but you have to cross through this path.
There's a chasm.
Yeah.
And they brought a ladder, so you know.
And then there's an area where the floor falls out, and they have to find the right stone. They mix and match stones together.
They had to find the color of life, which is green, by the way.
And then they find the tomb.
Yeah, the goddess of death, or queen of death, or whatever her name was.
And then they open the tomb, and then COVID comes out.
Yeah, she was on like some like gears.
Yeah, so
to make a pop scare for just anyone who comes in, and then she just like slowly retracts back down, and then
the guy gets COVID. He ends up turning into a zombie.
Yeah, and he shoots a few people. Then he gets shot. Then it's a shootout, and Villain Man's like, well, I just need to get a sample, so I'm going to take one of them fingers. And he takes a finger, puts it in his pocket. And this is when the Crofts are like, it's time to do a thing. And They kind of split up, and Laura's dad is like doing he's having a cover shooter moment, but then there's a zombie behind him, so he puts his hand up to stop it, and then he gets the virus. And once his bad guy man leaves, Laura deals with her bad guy man.
And then you said that they wanted to do a laser room, so they just took from like Resident Evil, so they just took a bunch of spiked whatever they are,
some logs with spikes.
Yeah, and basically did kind of laser room like that.
Yeah, they just roll them down. They're in like ridges in the wall, and they just roll down. And I completely forgot about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just remember Laura's bad guy died somehow.
Yeah, so now she goes find her dad, and her dad's like, "Oh, by the way, I'm infected. I'm turning."
Don't touch me, and she's like, "I gotta touch you, though."
He's like, "God damn it! Will you listen to me?" So he's like, "I'm gonna blow this place up, but I'm not gonna blow it up until you get out. But I don't know when you're gonna get out, so you better get out." So she runs away to find the main villain, and then they have a fight, and then she takes the finger out and stuffs it down the guy's throat. And
yeah, she fingers him,
and then he turns into a zombie. And then her dad's like, "All right, time to blow the thing up."
Well, actually, it
happened before.
The explosion happens before, which is what gives her time to finger him, and then she just kicks him into the chasm of bones.
So they didn't reenact the scene perfect, but there's a scene I think in the first game where the tomb is crumbling and you got crawled this tiny hole, and so she kind of almost does that with this mountain falling, and then the slaves come back and help her get out of. With the help of the guy with the boat. And so then they get the helicopter. Because they called the helicopter like the day before. And all the slaves got on the helicopter and they flew off into the sunset. And then, with the ending stinger, Laura signs off her dad's stuff to this lady at the very beginning of the movie. And we find out that she's actually the head of Trinity.
And I'm pretty sure there was a note from Dad that said, "Don't do that." And under all circumstances, do not do that.
And then she's like, "I am the Tomb Raider." And the movie ends. She doesn't say that, but...
Tomb Raided.
Tomb Raided! Check complete. I actually, so, now opinions. I actually enjoyed this movie. For, not like, it wasn't like a great movie, but it's like, for almost like a kind of one-to-one of the game. It was like, cool, we're just speedrunning the game and playing it. What I liked about this movie is like there was like only 3 areas. There was the beginning of the game, beginning of the movie, which probably could have been cut out because it actually had nothing to do with anything of the towards the ending. It would have been funny if the guy that was like, "Oh, I have a crush on you," but didn't say anything. Mm-hmm. It would have been funny if he was part of Trinity, like he was like the second in command. But no, he has nothing. So yeah, you could cut out the first part. The going through the tombs wasn't like anything special. I mean, besides, and I always had this thought of any movie. I'm like, well, if we're going to this ancient place, how the fuck are they how do they do all this stuff?
Gravity.
How do they design all this stuff to work? Because it only works once.
Yeah, it's fine. No, they got people who come back. Like, they got the night crew who comes back and they just build everything up again.
So, but I mean, for the most part, I enjoy it. The only thing I still can't get behind is she does not look like Lara Croft. They tried making her look like the 3rd reboot of Laura, but still it doesn't look like her. Your opinion?
I was kind of bored watching it, honestly. I didn't know why we were going to find this lady. Like, I know the dad's like, "Oh, well, you know, if I... something about life after death and blah 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 blah."
Yeah, because that's what she was like. Her dad was like, "Oh," because it's kind of weird because it's like he's like, "Yeah, I can hear her talk."
But yeah, no, I was just kind of
his wife, his dead wife.
Just kind of bored the whole time. I'm like, man, when do we get done with this?
Yeah. So the other reason why, our ratings, what would you give it?
I don't remember what I gave Uncharted, but I give this one less.
One less, okay. I think you gave it a 3 for the other one.
Oh, well then it gets a 2.
I'd probably give it a 4. I don't know. You can watch it once, and then that's about it. And the other thing too, and I'm not saying, but you've always been more Uncharted. I've always been more Tomb Raider, so maybe that's why I enjoyed it a little bit more.
Maybe.
But
I don't know.
I'm just throwing it out there. So the other thing I didn't set up. I always do this when I do a video, where I always forget what the premise is, but the video. So we're gonna compare and contrast the two movies. I absolutely, it's funny because listening to Jacob talk about I was bored. That's how I was during Uncharted, where I was just like, oh my god, it's just like one set to the next.
At least with Uncharted, it was like incredibly stupid. Like the fucking boat scene where they got the boats flying with the hell.
Yeah.
Like, at least that's dumb. Yeah. Like, this is just kind of like...
Yeah, hey, Tomb Raider was more grounded, I'd say that.
Here's a cave with a spring trap zombie. Woo!
But
I think I said this earlier, but like this lifted the plot of Uncharted 1.
Oh yeah.
Just a zombie virus in a coffin in a cave.
Well, it's essentially Uncharted, the first game of Tomb Raider, and then with the plot of the Uncharted with the zombies. But now for what it was, it's probably a lot better than some of these other movies. I mean, at least it wasn't like, well, okay, I'm just gonna say it. Fucking, oh my god, I lost his name. The Sully from...
Oh, Mark Wahlberg?
Mark Wahlberg. I mean, I just could not get behind him. Like, Tom Holland, I could kind of get behind a little bit, like, if a young one. But, like, I just... Every time I saw Sully, I'm like, that's not Sully.
Yeah, I think... Between the two, I think the plot of Uncharted's better, but I think the acting and everything else is better in Tomb Raider. That being said, that doesn't make it any more fun to watch.
I just felt like when I was watching the movie, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember playing the game. So that kind of took me back to 2013. But so that was our review of Tomb Raider.
Review.
Yeah. When I made this title of the show, I was like, it's more me just talking about the movie. And then I'm like, I don't want to talk about the movie anymore. So let me just like speed through it. And then that's what I just do now. I just speed through it and I'm like, okay, now here's my opinion. But tune back next time.
See ya.